ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at thebuttkicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to virtual Rockingham, North Carolina, here for today's running of the Cheerwine 200 from the Rockingham Speedway. My name is Old Red Bull with the one and only Brian Britt beside me in the broadcast booth. Rob Meldick once again working for us down behind the cameras throughout all of tonight's presentation. So by now, the season has kicked off in full. Two very draft-heavy tracks in turn started off this season here, Brian. Well, today, we set to slow things back down and test out an all-new package, the one that the ISCA has never used before. It is, of course, the package that everybody knows and loves, that low downforce, high horsepower package, and no doubt everybody is eager to see what this package can do and what kind of racing we'll be getting here tonight.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's definitely going to be some exciting racing. I mean, this track and this car combo is just an excellent choice. I mean, these guys are, you know, you could either have a fourth gear or a fifth gear. So, I mean, there's all kinds of different choices you can pick here for how you come at this. So, I mean, I'm excited to see, you know, top lane versus bottom lane. I mean, this is going to be exciting.
It is bound to be an absolutely thrilling race. 200 laps getting set to kick off here tonight from Rockingham. Stages are, of course, as always, in increments of 40 laps apiece. So stage cautions will be at 40 and 80. I think at this point it's safe to say fuel is definitely not going to be a factor until that third and final stage, with 69 laps estimated on, of course, your fuel window. Now, 6 tire sets for tonight. Interestingly enough here, Brian, as opposed to the usual 5. Even more interesting when you take into consideration that a tire wear hasn't necessarily been something to look at too much. I mean, even at Talladega, we saw a lot of people using very unique pit strategies. You know, sometimes when people take 2 tires only, they tend to go right side on Talladega, left sides only. Seemed to be the strategy all the way around, with the right sides barely taking anywhere throughout the entirety of the race. I think drivers are going to be using all 6 sets before the end of this one.
I think they're going to have one left. I mean, tire wear hasn't not been very significant here from what I've my experience in the A Open. From what I've seen, a lot of guys have been risking it and staying out. So I think that's what we're going to see here.
Cannot agree with you more on that one. Let's take a rundown real quick here of how your point situation is currently shaping up coming into tonight's race for the ButtKicker Cup Series season and the first season of 2021. After his win, of course, pushed by his teammate at Talladega, Noah Bitts now has one in the win column and is 8 points clear of one Chris Pfeffer, who is looking set to hold on to his points lead from Talladega. That has not been the case. He has dropped down to second place, and then, of course, 3 points behind him Bits' frontline teammate Justin Levine is getting set to gang up on Chris Pfeffer as well, with Heath Schneider just 10 points back. So far, it is your top 5 separated by just 23 points, and with 28 drivers on the field today, and obviously 20 points up for grabs in the stage breaks, you have to think there's a lot to play for on the line here tonight, and I think it's not going to be uncommon to be seeing a lot of those points being shuffled around by the end of the night.
No, I agree totally. I mean, I think that there's going to be some guys that are going to be acting like wrecking balls and coming through this point standings here, considering we're so early in the season, too.
And, of course, Noah Bitts looking to come off of a great high so far 1 week ago at the Talladega Super Speedway. Though that being said, interestingly enough, has not had the best of runs in qualifying so far. At least not the one he might have wanted. He is decently high up there, 4th place so far, so second grid, nothing to be shrugging off. But I do want to point out, G&G, front row lockout for the time being, running 1-2. Chris Pfeffer is in first place, and Clayton Hoffman, not a part of G&G anymore, moved over to Rocket Racing, so my apologies on that one. Forgot that Hoffman was no longer with the G&G crew, but Chris Pfeffer, runner-up in points. He is now currently looking to see if he can maybe take that points lead back at the end of the night.
Yeah, definitely a lot of guys trying to shuffle their way up. I mean, we see Clayton Hoffman, not doing too hot, 5th place in the points. I mean, he's going to be trying to fight his way up for sure. And a lot of these drivers are going to be, trying to vie for positions. I mean, a lot of guys have shown up here tonight for this race. I mean, this is a pretty big turnout here, Nolan, for a short track.
28 drivers getting set to go racing from the Rock. We'll take a quick step away, and we'll head on over to the United States of America National Anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Driver, start your engine! And here today for the Cheerwine 200, your butt kicker starting grid lines up as so. Chris Pfeffer, runner-up in points, is now back on pole position and the only driver to punch his ticket into the 22-second bracket, a full 1/10 of a second up from one Clayton Hoffman. Dan Shamoon starts in 3rd place on road number 2 with Noah Bitts in 4th. Josh Schaffner is 5th with Justin Levine in 6th. Gracia 7th, Wachinski 8th. John Mullins and Chris Johnson here, Brian, round out your top 10.
Kenny Powell going to be starting here in 11th. 12th place is going to be Dave Long. 13th, Jeffrey Souza. 14th, Corey Cook. 15th, J.D. Baker. 16th, Al Kozlowski. 17th, Philip Kruger. 18th, Greg Barlett. And 19th, Heath Snyder. And rounding out our top 20 here, Mark Paget.
And of course, Paget, the first of the drivers not to set times. He'll join the likes of Andrew Grisbaum. Apologies if I'm pronouncing that completely wrong. Thomas O'Hare is 22nd with Paul Olson 23rd. Don Avery is 24th with Jason Baker 25th. George Oakes is 26th. Mark Sanchez 27th. And Robert Pattengill rounds out your 28-car field here tonight from Rockingham Speedway. So let's talk about the challenges of the track a little bit here before we go green flag racing here, Brian. Of course, it is a short track, but it's an old track. It's got a lot of history underneath it. The layout, one of the most unique on the ISCA surface stage you will ever find. Not to mention, bumpy as heck with an old race surface. So what do you think we can expect all of that being considered with these brand new cars coming into tonight?
Well, I really think a lot of these drivers are going to be on more of a top-centric line. I mean, a lot of guys have found a lot of speed close to the wall. And there are a lot of bumps on this racetrack. You can definitely find yourself getting unsettled if you run on the bottom line. But, I mean, there could be some guys that choose to do so. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of, variable here on how you run this racetrack. Very interesting racetrack.
And as the pace car gets set to roll and take this field of 28 cars strong around to the back straightaway, I have to ask this one, Brian. Who do you think are some of the guys we might want to be keeping an eye out, particularly as we start to hit longer runs tonight, hopefully?
I mean, really, it's up in the air for me. I think the frontline crew has been very, very, very strong. They've shown their speed already, so, I mean, I would say look for a Noah Bitts.
Coming around the back straightaway now, and of course, just want to remind all of our viewers that you can get 20% off on all ButtKicker products by using our promo code ISCA20 at thebuttkicker.com. Once again, that's ISCA20 at thebuttkicker.com to get 20% off on all ButtKicker products. The proud title sponsor of this Thursday night ISCA Stock Car Association ButtKicker Cup Series. Pace car taking them around through turns 3 and 4. That will leave it in the hands of Barney the Flagman. The pace car is down and in, and now Pfeffer sets his eyes on the flag stand, and we say, let's go racing from the rock. And it is
already some
problems.
Yeah, already problems from Dan Shamoon. Big wiggle there on the bottom there. He's managing to hold on to 6.
Double file all the way down. That checked up the entire inside line. The top 3 have broken away. It will be Pfeffer to lead the opening lap side by side all the way back behind from about 8th place on back. You look at the moment at Dave Long trying to battle it out with Kenny Powell along with John Mullins just up the road. Chris Johnson pushing up the track in turns 1 and 2 as we start the second lap of this race. Drivers trying to fan out everywhere, use every inch of this tight and narrow track that they possibly can.
Yeah, these bumps are definitely affecting these guys. Really takes a lot of throttle control. You see a lot of issues coming out of turn 2. That is the biggest problem area just because of how, Thunder, at Thunder straightaway there. Oh, some contact there to 64. Goes sideways.
Saves it thanks to Corey Cook, who gave him a shot to the back bumper. 3 wide now down the back straightaway. Beautiful save there from John Mullins. He's got a busted up rear end. That was courtesy of Kenny Powell. That sent the 64 around. They did manage to survive it, though. One other driver, though, I checked that again. Mark Paget went into the pit barrels on the back straightaway. As a result of all that checking, he got into Heath Snyder.
Well, that is definitely unfortunate. You can see the damage on that race car. Heavy front end damage, missing the hood.
And no caution for that one. We're going to keep this one green flag racing. You're watching Corey Cook in a battle with Philip Kruger for 14th place. Look at the outside line charge from Corey Cook as he tries to take that spot away into turn number 1. I think he has just managed to pull away in his next-gen Chevrolet. Sideways, though, out of turn number 2 and down the back straightaway. And Corey Cook is going to be clean and green down through 3 and 4. Kruger starting to slip back as Dave Long finds a way up the inside.
Well, I'll tell you what, yeah, we have a heck of a battle going on here for the lead. We got Clayton Hoffman and Chris Pfeffer dueling. I mean, this has been side-by-side racing for so many laps in this first lead. This is so exciting.
You see Paget just up the road with no front bumper as Pfeffer's trying to keep Clayton Hoffman at bay, and it's not an easy task to say the very least. Now Pfeffer's trying to dime it off the corner and come down and chop off the run for the 92. Not going to happen this time, though. Pfeffer going to send it into turn 3. Hoffman still trying to work the bottom side. Pfeffer taking the top lane, trying to get the run out of turn number 4, and Pfeffer will clear and maintain that race lead for the time being.
Yeah, but there, we can see lap traffic already becoming a factor. That could play a role here, provide a pick for a Clayton Hoffman, or also could be a disadvantage for Clayton Hoffman if Chris Pfeffer's able to get past lap traffic a little bit better than him.
And now you see behind them side by side as well for the final podium position as your leaders dive it underneath the first lap car of the day on Mark Padgett. Here is that battle for third place. Dan Chamoun taking one around the top side, and Noah Bitts will take that spot away. Bitts was not able to power off of turn number 2 as well as he would have liked to get that spot back. So Dan Chamoun up into an easy third. We can now focus on trying to run down Clayton Hoffman up in second.
Yeah, another big mover out here. Josh Schaffner worked his way from pretty far back to up to 6th now. Really sniffing at the back of Justin Levine right now. But then Greg Wachinski also showing a lot of speed.
So lap 10 of 20 coming to its conclusion in just a couple of seconds. And you see Josh Schaffner leading Wachinski, who's just in front of Grassi, with Powell just in behind. About these 5 cars under a blanket from 9th on up to about the 5th position. Grassi going to move high, and that will allow Kenny Powell to move his way up. Into beat number 8 now, trying to set up Greg Wachinski, his own teammate, for an overtake here and down into turn number 1, potentially off of the front straightaway.
Kenny Powell looking really fast. I mean, he made that move look effortless getting around Wayne Grassi. So, I mean, I think he's got him a good ride underneath him. We're going to have to see. I mean, him and Wachinski, definitely are allies, I would say. So, might be on similar equipment. We'll have to. This is going to be a test of skill, I think, at this racetrack.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is not a racetrack for the faint of heart. You disrespect the rock, and it will bite back. It'll bite back hard, and you're not going to be able to recover from it very easily. And this is a lesson that everybody's got to learn at one point. Doesn't matter how much you try to go to war with those outside walls, they will win every single time, every day of the week, no matter how many shots you can throw at it. So Kenny Powell has to try to work his way underneath Greg Wachinski at the time being, still trying to race the track as much as he's trying to race the guys around him. See just up in front of them, Josh Schaffner thinking about a move on Justin Levine in 1, but no space for the 50 car to throw one up the inside.
Yeah, a little thing that just happened, a change for the lead. Clayton Hoffman up to the point.
And this, I believe, took place in turns 1 and 2 last time by. Almost looks to me like Pfeffer let him have it. Kind of brake really early for 1 and 2, and Hoffman just carried the outside line. Or do you think that's just how much faster Hoffman is around the top side here?
I mean, it could very well be that. I mean, it could have just been a mistake on Pfeffer's part. I mean, not really sure. I mean, Pfeffer is definitely a very talented driver. It could be a calculated move from him, to maybe save his equipment. I mean, even though tires haven't shown too much, presence here at this track, I do believe they still, can hold sway here. If he's able to maintain them a little bit better, might pay off later.
And you see Josh Schaffner was falling back as well. Got passed by Levine, who has a take slamper out of turn 2. Wachinski will find his way through, and Schaffner continues to drop further and further back. And looking up front now to Justin Levine, trying to keep Kenny Powell at bay. Wachinski got through. Powell's looking to go on the charge. A big bobble, though, for the 24 Toyota, though, out of turn number 4. Almost sees him lose the back end of his car. And Levine's looking to fight back on Greg Wachinski this time around the inner side line. Your defending champion giving it everything at the moment early on here at the Rock, but G&G is not going to let him go without a fight.
100%. You gotta think. Look at from the perspective of Kenny Powell. Like, where do you go here? But look at that big wiggle there for Levine. He's going to lose a lot of spots. Schaffner is able to get around him.
Flipped the apron at the exit of turn 4. That's what got Levine all sorts of out of shape and sent him tumbling down with a huge loss of speed. Jeffrey Souza, you can see, all in the mix of things, running to the top 10 for really the first time all season long. Souza's not had the best of starts to his season. Got to be careful on getting that run cut off by Levine up in front. And Souza, no doubt, is going to try to see if he can potentially work his way further up. I don't think at this point he's going to be in championship contention, but hey, still has more than enough time to secure a top 10 or even a top 5 in the points.
100%. I mean, and Souza, he's definitely not a bad driver at all. We've seen him do very well in plenty of races. I just think it comes down to bad luck. I mean, definitely a talented guy. I mean, I think everybody here in the ISCA has earned their keep being here.
Levine still side by side this time, though, with black traffic of Mark Padgett, who has continued to slip back as you see clearly off pit with all that damage from nosing it into the pit barrels over about 10 or so laps ago at this point in time. So far, no change in the battle for the lead. In fact, that has only extended since this race has gotten kicked off. Just taking a quick scroll throughout the field at the moment. Looking further down the order, 21st place, Heath Schneider trying to fend off George Oakes, who is on the offensive at the moment, and the number 15 EDI Chevrolet. But so far, that Nordson machine is on a huge charge against Heath Schneider's frontline Mustang. Schneider, really one of the frontline drivers that is not having a whole lot of luck today, has a little bit of damage on the right front, but that shouldn't be enough to be hindered his pace as much as it seems to be.
I almost feel like I cast a broadcaster's curse on those frontline guys because, like, they all are struggling. Heath Snyder's been struggling hard. He's hit the wall. I've seen him a couple times. He's definitely, all those guys are not doing well right now.
Well, don't forget, frontline strength is, tracks that tend to have a solid teamwork aspect to them. Rockingham, very much not one of those tracks, right? This is one of those tracks where it's very hard to work as a team. Tends to be more every man for himself. As you see Wachinski now under fire from Noah Bitts. Bitts fails. That opens up the door for Powell to look on the inside into 3 and 4. Bitts, though, drives it in deep. Stepping back in, going to push too wide. That lets Powell through. Might let Schaffer through here as well. And Souza's in the wall behind them. Wrecking front straight over the number 14 car. He manages to get that thing back under control. No caution. We're going to stay green as well. He tagged the apron, I believe, in 3 and 4. That sent him over correcting hard into the outside wall on the front straight.
Yeah, that's good for a lot of these guys. That caution didn't come out. Let this thing race out. Definitely not good for Souza. But, good job on him to be able to collect that and keep that thing green. I mean, that took a lot of selflessness there, but some great racing going on for sure. Kenny Powell making his way up into the top 5. This is looking really good for him as he's trying to chase down Greg Wachinski. A little bit of a conflict of interest considering they're on the same team.
Well, again, at a track like this one, teamwork doesn't matter nearly as much, so you are a bit more clear to go all out. I think the only question at this point is how aggressive you want to be diving it up the inside of somebody, one of these corners. And Schaffner showing the nose. We know that he can be aggressive when it really counts, and he has been looking to try to get this move complete for some time now. He's just not ever able to get a good enough run off of the corners where he can actually properly mount a charge.
Well, I'll tell you something. I've noticed something about Kenny Powell. Looks like he's changed up his paint scheme a little bit. It's got Premier on the side of that thing, just like Clayton Hoffman. Oh, there's a little bit of almost some contact there.
Yeah, Wachinski not showing a whole lot of mercy to Powell at the moment. And Powell's going to send one around the outside now of that GNG Monster Energy Chevrolet. And that'll put Powell further up in the top 5, up to 4th place now. Looks like they are willing to make that swap. Wachinski's going to fall further back down the order now. He might be looking to hold up Levine.
But look at Levine, though. I mean, we were talking about frontline, starting to struggle. Maybe in this portion of the run, maybe this is what they, why they sacrificed that short run. Maybe they're going to get faster.
Caution flag is out for the first time tonight, and looks like it was Noah Bitts, your points leader, to bring out a first caution of the night. The only question was, did he have any contact? It'd be controversial if it was, and no, just lost it all by himself. And Chris Johnson and Wayne Grossi both doing a great job to avoid that mess. Bitts just lost it all by himself through 3 and 4. I reckon there's a bit of a big bump on the entry to turn 3. I wonder if that's what caught him out. You're right on corner entry. It's a bit late in the corner for it to have caught him out that bad.
Yeah, that's definitely a very surprising. Luckily, Chris Johnson, look at that. Those guys almost collected right into, him. So, I mean, that's good that those guys were able to really have that wreck awareness, or, wreck avoidance, I should say. I mean, Noah Bitts came out of that with no damage at all, I do believe.
Just some smoked up Goodyears, and I'm pretty sure nobody's going to be complaining about that one. We're going to take another look at this here. I don't know about that one. It looks like he kind of just hit a bump, went straight, and had to check up in order to avoid that. That brings out our yellow flag. And, well, I think at this point, we have to start asking the question, do we see pit stops? And we're seeing a mixed call here. Wachinski is coming in for stops, so is Levine, Johnson, and he's taking everybody else in behind them. Your top 4 or so all staying out here.
I mean, I told you right before we started before the race started. I mean, these guys are going to make some calls that are going to be interesting. You know, staying out. You know, usually at tracks like this, you don't stay out. But I mean, the tire wear here has not been terrible. So I mean, I would not be surprised to see a lot of guys try to gamble.
Corey Cook missed his pit box. He'll be having to spend his time falling a little bit further to the back of this field, and this is going to be an interesting call. Levine beats Wachinski out of pit road. So Levine is going to retake, I guess, the highest spots gained from that stop. Now, I'd imagine they might come in again under the stage 2 yellow. What's your thoughts on that one, Brian?
I don't know about, you know, those guys that chose to pit just now and take tires. I don't believe they would pit on that stage 2 yellow, or stage 1 yellow, I should say. I wouldn't do it. I mean, because I mean it's such a sacrifice to take these tires so early. You kind of are, you know, forced to ride it out. You know what I mean?
It'll be interesting to see what they do come that stage 1 caution flag, which is under 10 laps away. So under caution for the first time tonight for a single car spin. Nobody else collected, nobody getting into any walls. Let's take a quick break here under this yellow flag. We'll be back in just a moment. One lap left to the green flag. There will be 7 laps to go in stage 1, excuse me, when we take that start-finish line once again and take the green flag. This means if we have another caution within the next 2 laps, we'll get a green-white checkered for the stage here, Brian. But if they go 3 or more, then that will end the stage prematurely if they have another caution. And considering, at the moment, just looking through my notes here, you've got the top 9 on 32-lap-old tires, where somebody else is on fresh rubber. I think the possibility for a stage-ending caution here is very high.
Yeah, it could very well be the case. We'll have to wait and see him for sure. I mean, there has been a little bit of a distinction between, you know, what a long run looks like on these tires, and you know, we'll have to wait and see. This is really going to be the test here, Nolan. I mean, to see how tires are going to stack up here. I mean, this is going to really be the results of the rest of the race. People are going to learn stuff from this as the pace car dips down pit road.
And Hoffman takes them to the green. Now, how does this restart play out? 7 laps to go in stage number 1 from the Cheerwine 200 at Rockingham Speedway. Levine's on a charge already, punching his ticket past some drivers. Oh, he's almost going to get turned by Wachinski deeper in the field, though, and this is going to get intense real quick. 3 wide into turn number 3 at the moment, and Levine still in charge at the bottom, so I can get past Bartlett. Now has to try to charge down Kozlowski.
I think charging is the best way to describe what he just did. I mean, like that, his wreck avoidance was charge ahead, and look at that getting real tight, close to the wall, but looks like he's going to avoid touching it.
And this time by at the line, it'll be 5 to go in stage 1, which means if another caution comes out at this point in time, it would end the stage prematurely. And Levine still trying to hunt down a stage 1 victory. You can see Schaffner looking for a move on Dan Shamoon just up the road, trying to punch his way up in 4th place. There goes Levine outside around Thomas O'Hara. Now has to try to charge down. Don Avery up in 6th. Levine's got the possibility of getting a top 5 finish here in the stage, at least.
Yeah, he definitely does have a good shot at that for sure. We can see the value of those tires, but does he have enough time to get a stage win? I don't think he does. We'll have to wait and see. Oh, some contact with the wall there with the 55.
And they somehow save it. Avery still wrestling the car down to the inside. He's going to manage to just get that thing back under control. And Levine now on a charge on Josh Schoffer, up to 5th now, trying to make it 4th with 3 to go in stage 1.
I mean, just the value of new tires definitely right on display here as Levine charging his way. Now going to probably take 4th here as he powers around on the top of Schaffner.
Now here's the big ticket question. Does he have the tire life and the time he needs to pass Kenny Powell before that stage 1 yellow?
Well, think about this too, Nolan. I mean, if he decides not to pit for this stage yellow, you know, that's going to really hurt him. He's pushing it right now.
And Levine's on the back bumper. Powell going to go for it here into turn number 3. Levine goes from 10th to 3rd into the podium positions here for stage number 1. Has to try to get past Chris Pfeffer, who wants to try to have a run up for the points lead by the end of this race. Final time around here in stage number 1. Levine's got the run through 2. Pfeffer's loose as well. And Levine's going to go to the inside line. I'll take that one easily away. But he's still going to be 1 spot away from a stage 1 victory. That will go to the 92 of Clayton Hoffman.
Look at that, fighting back on the inside, the 84. Chris Pfeffer fighting back. Look at that. Love to see that, don't you? This has been a heck of a race, Nolan.
An absolutely thrilling race. Definitely, I would say the best one we've had so far, at least for opening stages on the season. I mean, non-stop action from start to finish, and there's only more to come.
100%. Clayton Hoffman definitely deserving on that win. I mean, Justin Levine, I think he just needed just a lap or two. I think he might have got him.
So now all of that being said and done, does the 2/3 of the field that pit under the last yellow come down again under this stage 1 caution period to get fresh rubber?
I mean, if you pushed it hard like Levine did, I'd say yes. If you pushed it hard, you know, just to stay equal with those other guys, I mean, you do have 6 sets to play with. So, I mean, that is kind of, you know, you do have a little bit of wiggle room.
And sure enough, everybody coming down pit road except Chris Johnson, Wayne Grossi, Dave Long, all staying out. They will inherit the race lead now, but we'll be at a serious disadvantage as a result throughout all of stage 2 if it goes green.
They definitely will, but I mean, we've seen these Hail Mary passes like this work out. So we'll have to wait and see. I mean, these guys, you know, we've seen a lot of gambling in ISCA history, I think, Nolan. So, I mean, and a lot of times it's worked. So, I don't know.
Now the pit stops are complete. Let's see if we can't dial up your stage 1 winner. Clayton Hoffman, this is Nolan Rempel up at the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
What an exciting first stage for you. I mean, you just took the lead from Pfeffer and just ran away with it. Levine, though, trying to hunt you down. Were you ever concerned that he might be able to catch you on 3rd to lap fresher tires of the closing laps of stage 1?
Not at the end. I was worried at the beginning, but once we were halfway through, I think it was like 6 to go. Once we were halfway through, he wasn't in 3rd place yet. 3rd place, I think, was a second and a half behind me when I looked. I wasn't that worried anymore. The times, I was just too fast for him to make that much track position up.
You got any plans currently for stage number 2, or do you think it's going to be more of just the same, just pushing it hard to the end of stage 2 from here?
It's just going to be navigating these guys that stayed out. It looks like there's 3 or 4 guys that stayed out. So whoever is one of these top guys on fresh tires, makes it through these guys first, gets clean air, clean track, will probably win the stage if we go green.
And well, from there, Clayton, anybody you'd like to shout out for that premier Toyota Camry in the number 92?
Yeah, shout out to Premier Racing Setups. Really great this week. Really fast on the long run. The line we run's a little bit different from what I've seen a lot of other guys run, but I mean, I've been the fastest car in every race I've ran so far, so definitely still the fastest. And shout out to James Mullen for building the set. It's great.
And thank you, Clayton, for taking the time to join us here tonight. Congrats on a stage 1 win. Best of luck here in the next 40.
Thank you, guys.
That was Clayton Hoffman joining us up here in the broadcast booth with his Stage 1 victory, and he mentioned it perfectly right. Top 4 all staying out. Johnson, Grossi from there. It's Long and Cook on row number 2. And one of those cars' damage is worth noting as well, Brian. So, all of that considered, how do you reckon this stage could play out?
It's definitely going to be interesting. I think we might see an early caution in this stage. We see Chris Johnson, I should say, actually choosing the high line here, so that's an interesting call.
Well, that being said, the 48, or that outside line, excuse me, has proven before that that outside line can't work. We've seen that time and time again today.
I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on here. This is a bit of an interesting one. I think there's a bit of confusion on where people need to be lined up. I think Grossi thought he needed to follow what Iris said, which of course dictated the outside line. And all of that will give Chris Johnson a huge launch on the stage 2 restart as we're back to green.
Yeah, Justin Levine making some crazy bonsai moves. Also Clayton Hoffman doing the same thing. These guys are fighting hard to get past these cars that did not take tires.
And they're going to have to take the long way around through 3 and 4. Levine trying to close up on Wayne Grossi. I think we'll just be able to get alongside this time, entering turn number 1, and that will basically secure that spot for him down the back straightaway, if not already by the time they exit turn number 2. Levine pushed a bit too wide, though, so they'll have to take that one down the back stretch, coming off the wall, just what everybody would have adored the 7 for a minute. But they're clean. Caution flies, though, and it is a wreck on the back straightaway. Don Avery, I think, getting collected in this, and they're still piling in. Souza's involved. Padgett's there. Shamoon is there. About a 5-car wreck on the back straightaway, and it all started from Jason Baker getting up and into Don Avery.
Yeah, looking back at this again here and seeing exactly what happened. Definitely a huge wreck involving multiple cars, heavy damage. Oh, looks like someone got into the wall and then the 51 went a little high there.
Yeah, I know that J.D. Baker, you saw it there, he locked up and got sideways and just piled into the wreck as a result, trying to avoid it. It all started up with the 51 and the 11. We'll take a look at this one here from a bit of a top-down shot. Watch as Avery just hits the wall right as Baker comes up. They both get spun around. That's a hard hit for the 55, and there you see Souza and Baker sliding in. Nowhere for either of those drivers to go. Souza was committed to the bottom, and there just was no hole for him to go down the inside. And all of that, well, Dan Shamoon took a hard shot as well to the driver's door of Don Avery.
Well, I'll tell you who this helped out quite a bit was probably Chris G. Johnson.
Now finds himself with only 3 cars to get past when they take that. Levine only has 2 cars to get by when they take the green flag. On board with Shamoon, and watch this here. And nowhere to go. Yeah, there was absolutely nothing he could have done there in that situation. I mean, you commit to the bottom and the car starts to slide down. You can't just correct back to the outside that fast, especially on a track like this.
Oh, definitely not. That's a way to make things worse when you do try to make maneuvers like that.
And well, with all of that being said, coming to the 1/4 distance in this race, I'm going to take one more quick step away. We'll be back in a few.
ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at TheButtKicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
1 lap to go, and now 25% of the distance through. 29 laps to go in stage 2 when we take the green flag this time by. Once again, Chris Johnson opting for the top side. That'll put Corey Cook on the bottom before you line it up traditionally from there on back with Levine 3rd, Clayton Hoffman in 4th. Powell starts in 5th. So we saw how many charges they were making early in stage 2 here, Brian. I'm going to guess 2 laps at most before Levine and Hoffman are back in the lead.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, could very well be the case. I think so. I mean, but then again, they do have, a little bit of unpredictable stuff in front of them. I mean, Corey Cook's got massive front end damage. You can see it's been up all out of shape there. I mean, could a slow start cause some problems for these guys?
Pace car going to pull down, and then we'll have to see here what that damage to Corey Cook will do as they launch clean. And Chris Johnson left so early, and Corey Cook got such a slow start that Hoff was already clear of him before they even hit start finish.
Yeah, that really benefited Clayton Hoffman. I mean, using almost that lane choice just was great for him. But look at that, we got Corey Cook still staying relevant though. I'm surprised at the pace he's carrying right now as he's underneath Chris Johnson.
And all of that while Hoffman broke through for the race lead in 3 and 4, leaving it a side-by-side roadblock for Levine to navigate down the back straight away for the 53rd time today. Johnson up top, Cook on the bottom. Levine trying to follow through as well with Powell just behind.
Definitely surprised at the pace that they're holding. I mean, they're holding their own. I mean, of course, I would say those guys that are on fresher tires are doing better, are faster than them. It's Levine looking underneath Chris Johnson. Levine getting a little tight there, losing some momentum. Kenny Powell getting really close to the back bumper.
And that is one of the more unfortunate things about this track, about trying to pass the inside line, right? If you want to make that move, you have to get to complete that corner. If you find yourself having to check up, it's going to kill your run. And speaking of killing runs, Pfeffer up into the wall, entering turn 1. That does not slow him down at all as he gets sent to charger on the outside of Justin Levine now through 1 and 2, down the back straightaway, now into 3 and 4 with Wayne Grossi looking to follow, and Pfeffer really leaning on the door of Levine. That's a bit tight, and Chris Pfeffer's going to pull his way around, and that will pick up and put him back into the top 5.
This did not look like a friendly encounter between those two drivers. That is for sure. Those guys were beating and banging to get by each other. Oh! Levine going in after Pfeffer gets some contact with the rear end there, Nolan.
Don't think he was too happy about how he got pinched down like that through 1 and 2 last time by. Because now Pfeffer side by side with Chris Johnson, Levine up top. So got 2 G&G teams working their way through. Levine's now looking to go on the offensive, taking the same move back, outside line. And he'll follow Chris Johnson around, and Pfeffer's going to drop back as a result, trying to follow through the inside line. But we saw how much good that did Justin Levine when he was running that inside line. Didn't work out for him too well at all, but Pfeffer seems to be trying to make it work for the most part.
I don't know. There's a lot of animosity, it seems like, between these two. There's a palpable tension from what I'm seeing here. I mean, these guys are racing their hearts out. I mean, it's almost like they're in the Coliseum doing battle.
You can continue to watch here as Pfeffer now tries to fend off Wayne Grossi, who is trying to pull Greg Wachinski through as well. You have, at this point, a good portion of the field now single file, and this is where the challenge of Rockingham comes in. It can be so difficult to try to initiate a pass. You really have to try to send it in like Wachinski just did and hope that your opponent doesn't counter like Wayne Grossi didn't, as Bitts is going to go through. Schofter will go through on Grossi as well, causing him to lose 3 spots in 1 corner, as meanwhile, pass for second, Powell's through on Cook.
Kenny Powell looking very fast right now, only about 1 point, a second and a half behind, our leader Clayton Hoffman. Very surprised at Corey Cook and Chris Johnson, though. I mean, look at they've been able to maintain this pace, even though they're on older tires. That is insane to me. I mean, these guys really have a lot of pace. I would not be surprised to see everybody on the same tires, these guys doing well.
And now Chris Johnson looking to try to follow suit as well. And You see Corey Cook trying to fend off. I think at this point, that tire wear, though, really starting to kick into play here. Chris Johnson trying to make something work with him, but of course they're on about the similar lap tires here, so Cook not having an easy time keeping Johnson at bay. And at this point, the fresh rubber advantage, I think, is pretty much dissipated for everybody that came in under that latest stage caution, at least. So that's why Levine's not able to close up as much as he was before when this stage got underway.
Yeah, I think that's 100%. Yeah, I think there's like a plateau when it comes to the tire wear. I think everybody hit it, and those guys were able to hold on when that plateau hit. And it looks like Schaffner going to try to challenge here for 8th on Noah Bitts. Fighting side by side. Looks like Schaffner going to be able to get clear here, so that is a change for 8th there. But it looks like a crossover maneuver from Noah Bitts here.
Going for that cross, and looks like Schaffner going to try to return the favor into turn number 1, but Bitts sends it in big time around the outside line, ripping the outside right by the wall, and that is going to get him the best possible run out of turn 2, and Schaffner had nothing for it.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a surprise here. I mean, we know Bitts is really good at running the wall, at whatever track he's going to. Definitely some phenomenal racing still going on. I mean, this is not settled out very much here. I mean, we see Wachinski trying to look in on Chris Pfeffer here once again.
And you can see now Schaffner trying to push around Noah Bitts here into turn number 1. Isn't this going to be close enough? I think might just get alongside, and he is there. And Bitts having to fight this one out big time. The number 50 car trying to send it into turn number 3. And all of this while Bitts continues to struggle to hang on to that position in this front line 87 Mustang, as Cook fell back just that last lap to Levine in the battle for 4th. He's down to 5th now. And Schaffner gonna pull around the inside line. Bitts, though, battling big time on the outside line. This is what I love about tracks like Rockingham here, Brian. It is so easy to race on so many different lines, and each of them have their own advantages in turn, and you can get great side-by-side battles like this for multiple laps at a time.
100%. I mean, I love tracks that have multi-grooves. I mean, you hate to see them just running in line. This is one of those tracks where they're fighting constantly, and you can see it. I mean, this has been so much fun to watch, as Corey Cook going to lose some more positions here. I think the tire wear really starting to show on him, but I mean, his aerodynamic is kind of a little bit messed up. So I would think that might make his tires wear a little bit more as he gets really close to hitting Wachinski here.
Oh, and Bitts with a big tank slapper that time by out of turn 2. That allows Cook to try to make a move and get back past. Not going to happen, though. Schaffner still looking to close down in 9th place as we're 10 to go in stage 2.
Yeah, definitely the heat is on now. These guys are really going to be fighting hard, as you see Schaffner trying to fight to get around Cook now. Really close.
Schaffner going to clear from Cook, who has his own moment of a loose bit out of turn number 4. And this is the tire wear starting to kick in, right? This track really does bite at you. So look out now to Justin Levine, who's still trying to close up to Kenny Powell, but just not able to from that 3rd position. You still have got Chris Johnson as well just behind to his battle for 4th, trying to keep Pfeffer at bay, but Pfeffer's been looking really aggressive, and this time will make that look up the inside into 1.
Yeah, I think those guys held on a long time, not, being on a disadvantage on tires, but I think time eventually caught up with them for sure, as Pfeffer does take 4th. It looks like maybe Wachinski might be able to, I mean, considering we still have a couple laps remaining.
Just a few select laps remaining, and apart from that one yellow flag we had right at the start of stage 2, this has gone just about completely green. And Here's about I haven't touched on too much. Outside of the top 10, Bits has continued to fall off, and something must have happened because Noah Bits has dropped from 9th all the way back to 13th in just one lap. So Bits having some major struggles and looks like actually had a big sideways moment out of turn 4 and slid down almost into the infield. That's what caused him to lose all those spots. He's on the recovery drive now that his tires are overheated.
Yeah, that's why I say he's actually a lot slower, I think, than the guys in front of him right now. So it's gonna take some time to get those tires cooled down. I think he's just gonna have to hold on and wait until the yellow comes out for that stage. But further on in the field, we see Greg Wachinski fighting, I do believe, with Chris Johnson. Schaffner also waiting in the wings, trying to make something happen here. Schaffner going to try to go underneath Wachinski, just thinks better of it, though.
Thinking better of it for the time being. I think he's going to try to maybe make this within the final 2 laps or so if he can get there. I think that is going to be the big ticket question at the moment. Does he have the time to try to run down Wachinski? I don't think he does, because Wachinski now going on the attack against Chris Johnson. As I say that, here is Schaffner. He'll try to have a look at this time in a 1.
100%. I mean, Schaffner, opportunist. He's waiting. He wants, Greg Wachinski and those guys, and Johnson to fight a little bit. But it looks like he's not able to make that pass. We talked about it, that bottom line. It's just so hard to pass down there. Can Schaffner do it? It looks like he's going to be able to do it. He passes Wachinski.
Passes clear of Wachinski. That puts Schaffner now up to P6. Can he get a top 5 before stage 2 comes to a close? He's just got Chris Johnson to get by, and with 1.5 laps to go still, and might have the chance. Battle for P2 is also on, as Levine has caught Kenny Powell and is up the inside of the Gasoline Go 24, trying to punch his ticket through to get a 2nd place. So far, not going to happen. And meanwhile, for Clayton Hoffman, clear by 4.6 seconds up in front. No one able to contend at all with the 92 car, barely even visible in between these guys, as Hoffman will come around and go back-to-back in both stages.
I mean, what a dominant, race Clayton Hoffman has had here. We've got to really shout out Kenny Powell here, able to hold off Justin Levine.
And well, I was going to say, now with stage 2 complete, Powell's got 2nd place, making it to the G&G 1-2. Levine's 3rd, but how about another G&G driver rounded it out in 4? So 1, 2, 4, and 6, 7. That's 5 G&G drivers here in the top 10 of stage 2. That is huge.
Yeah, definitely shows their domination here. I mean, these guys have been putting in a lot of work, been winning a lot of races in the officials, and I think that they're letting that, really shine here in this league.
Well, with all of this said and done, while pit stops get underway, let's take one more quick step away and we'll be back with the remainder of the Cheerwine 200 from the Rockingham Speedway in just a moment as they come. Pit stops complete. Hoffman once again, first one in, first one out. Powell second, Levine third, Pfeffer fourth, Chris Johnson is fifth. And I have to say, Brian, it has been a thrilling race so far. I mean, this has been, I'd have to say, by far the most exciting race of the season. I mean, race number one at Atlanta, completely caution-filled, only had 4 cars on the lead lap. Talladega was, well, what you could expect from Talladega, you know, a lot of single-file racing. Rockingham, though, that has been the race to talk about so far this year.
Oh, I agree totally. I mean, I even think that this race stacked up to races last season would, you know, I think this one will be in the top 5 easily. I mean, this has been an excellent race. We've seen, you know, back and forth, different lines working. I mean, this has been super exciting. I mean, I am on the edge of my seat watching it.
It certainly has. I mean, this has been an absolute phenomenal race, and it's only going to get better, right? Because now we get to talk about pit strategies. 69 laps is the estimated fuel window. 116 laps to go, or 117, excuse me. I think that kind of makes this a relatively easy decision, right? I mean, just come on down when your tank's empty, and you're just good to go from there to the end.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever that simple, especially for these guys out here. But, you know, and also you got to keep in mind, you know, how difficult this pit road is to get down. I mean, you got such a big change in banking down to the apron, you know, and this place is so bumpy as it is. Old racing surface. It's definitely going to be treacherous trying to get down pit road, especially when you got a bunch of hungry race car drivers right behind you.
And I think you have to kind of wonder at this point, you know, how will this third stage play out? Because the first 2 stages have really been just go, go, go. You know you can push as hard as you can right to the end. I honestly have to say that based on what I've seen before, I think we can expect for it to pick up even more in this third stage.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that happening. But I can also see some guys maybe taking it a little bit easier. I mean, because they know it's going to go longer run. I mean, we've only seen 40-lap runs thus far, and you've had cautions that have, you know, one caution at least has split it up. But here we go. Time to see what exactly happens here.
Pace cars down, and then Hoffman leads another restart. And once again, just like the others, he is clear and away. It's a GNG 1-2, single file into turn number 1. This time, Levine does not have a tire advantage. Oh, look out, Levine! Sideways through 1 and 2. I was just mentioning how he didn't have a tire advantage. Now he doesn't have a position advantage as he drops outside of the top 10 because of that mistake.
Yeah, a lot of these guys have built their setups to where they're very loose, you know, on the first couple laps. I think that's what Frontline's been dealing with this whole race. Oh, some contact here.
Oh,
the 64 ways into the wall, into Wayne Grossi. That is going to be a caution.
For sure, Grossi still wrecking up into the outside wall, and Levine has to slam the brakes to just get on the binders to avoid a wreck-it into the number 7 cars eking down the track. And we'll take another look at what happened here. I think it was between Mullins and Kozlowski, I think, to start this one off. There you go, nose to tail. Kozlowski ran over Mullins, got to the outside wall, and went into Grossi, and it was on from there. I think, who was that just got involved there by just the skin of his teeth? I think that was, and correct me if I'm wrong, Corey Cook, I want to say?
Yeah, that was Corey Cook to 61, yep.
So I would say that's the second biggest wreck we've had so far tonight. We have 1 single car spin and then 2, 5 to 6 car pileup so far. Here you saw from Kozlowski, that sent Mullins up into the outside wall, comes down, gets into Grossi, it's on from there.
Yeah, and this really didn't help the fuel situation either. I mean, these guys are not in the window at all. I mean, only a 69-lap fuel run here tonight. I mean, you probably could save a couple laps if you really were trying, but, definitely not going to be able to make it.
So Hoffman still leads this race from the time being out in front, and I will say, it's all gone wrong for Justin Levine, who is into pit road now in his number 33 car. Now, he started 3rd on that last restart, Brian, and well, that wreck sent him tumbling outside. His roll mistake sent him tumbling outside of the top 10, and that sent him flying outside of the top 20.
Well, one good thing about it, though, I mean, Levine doesn't have any damage from what I can see, and he was good enough on the brakes to avoid getting into that. I mean, that could have easily spelled disaster. I mean, he's still, long race, he still has a chance to get back up in it. especially with the lack of damage. I mean, you could see on that race car pretty clean.
Clean for the time being. I mean, the only thing that really went wrong for him in that latest incident was, was really having to smoke up all the tires because he had to lock it down to avoid getting into Wayne Crossing, which he did very nicely. And we're still under this caution period. So we'll see how...
Sorry.
I mean, you're correct. It could have been a lot worse.
Oh, yeah, that could have been a lot worse. But it definitely will affect... You know, because his tires, he might have a flat spot on those tires from having to brake so hard to avoid that collision. But definitely an exciting race in front of us here. I mean, a lot of variables out there on this racetrack. A lot of hungry drivers that want to win. I mean, I'm looking at Kenny Powell. I mean, we haven't seen him win one. I mean, I'd love to see that 24 in victory lane. I mean, a lot of these guys out here, they're fighting to try to get this win.
And now with the lights out on the pace car, we get set to go green in just about 1 minute's time here. So it's Hoffman first, and you have you have Powell, then Pfeffer, and Johnson, making it a G&G 1, 2, well, really 2, 3, 4, because Hoffman not running with G&G anymore. Still need to get that into my head. I'm so used to calling them under the G&G banner. It's been like a season, though.
It's definitely interesting because, I mean, both of those drivers that are in the top two are sponsored by Premier, so I would consider them teammates.
Coming around through 3 and 4. Powell wants to go. Looking a bit antsy on the outside line. Poking his nose just a little bit ahead of that number 92 Premier Racing Setup Shop, Toyota Camry. As Benny, the pace car driver, going to pull down to pit road. Hoffman checks the field up, and we're back to green.
Interesting strategy there from Clayton Hoffman. I don't know what to really make of it. I mean, it looks like he's definitely checking these guys up. It's not helping the outside pole, that's for sure, but Kenny Powell able to get clear and stay in second.
Well, what it does is it checks up the inside row, which gives you a much cleaner run down towards turn 1, which, you know, more draft-heavy tracks like Dega, that's a terrible idea because it leaves you vulnerable to an attack, but at a track where draft does not have any factor into say things, like Rockingham, it can easily get you about a tenth or so, and that is valuable in a track like that.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. As we still have some battles. Al Kozlowski trying to go underneath the 117 here of Thomas O'Hare.
Trying to look around the inside. I don't think it'll happen this time around, though. You see Kozlowski just tucked in behind him in the overall battle for 8th place on the racetrack. O'Hare is trying to close up to Noah Bitts, who I'm a bit surprised that Bitts hasn't been able to charge to the front as much as he has had earlier. We've seen that time before tracks like these. Bitts just runs away with these races, and he's been stuck in the back portion of the top 10 all race long.
I really feel like it's just set up. I mean, maybe they came to the track with different track conditions. They weren't expecting it or something. Because, I mean, they definitely have had poor short run speed, and I think that's what's lent to them being stuck behind.
And all of this, we can already see on the timing boards on the left-hand side. Hoffman starting to pull away as Levine looks for the inside, potentially down across start-finish on Jason Baker for 12th place. So Levine still on the charge. Side-by-side for 4th as well. Chris Johnson having to keep one. Josh Schaffner at bay just up the road. Greg Wyszynski is tucked in line just behind Schaffner on the bottom side. Bitts looking high to try to get a run out of these corners, and Johnson going to lose 4th place now to Schaffner.
Yeah, Schaffner showing a lot of great speed right now. It's almost like how Frontline's been dealing with being stuck in traffic. I think he's been dealing with the same thing. You know, traffic's hard to deal with here at Rockingham. Especially, the different speeds everybody's carrying through the corners. Different braking points, I mean, could easily cause an issue.
Bitts looking high, trying to set up a run on Wyszynski and punch his way through to 6th place. Wojcinski's going to defend a little bit lower than he normally runs down the back straightaway, so Bitts is going to have to stick this one in line. Not going to be able to make that move just yet. You've got 5th, 6th, 7th under a blanket. Wojcinski right up the back end of Chris Johnson. Not opting for a move, though, into turn number 1. I think Wojcinski playing the team game at the moment. He's got a teammate right in front of him. I think he's going to be more the rear gunner at this point, trying to keep Bitts behind.
Definitely a lot of guys hungry to make some moves here, but it's still early. I mean, I think these guys should maybe take it a little bit easier, and I think that's why they're staying in line and not really trying to challenge as much as they could be, I don't think.
As we come to the close of lap number 100, let's take a quick break. We'll run top to bottom through your field here for the ButtKicker midway race break for the Cheerwine 200. So up in front, Hoffman still leads, looking to extend his lead up to a second, currently about 3/4 of a second at the time being. Kenny Powell sits in second place with Pfeffer 3rd, Schaffner 4th. Johnson is 5th with Wojcinski down in 6th. Nobitz is 7th. Thomas O'Hara is 8th. Kozlowski and Schneider here, Brian, rounding out your top 10.
George Oakes in 11th here. The 12th place position belongs to Justin Levine. 13th, Jason Baker. 14th, Philip Kruger. 15th, Mark Sanchez. 16th, Corey Cook. 17th, Dan Shamoon, and 18th, Wayne Grossi. 19th, Greg Bartlett. 20th, Mark Paget. And, yeah, I mean, that wraps out our top 20 here. And looking at it, 21st is Robert Pattengale and Paul Olson in 22nd. Everybody else is out of their race cars, Nolan.
And, of course, those drivers include Long, John Mullins, Jeffrey Souza, Baker, Don Avery, and Andrew Grisbaum. Now, I find it interesting that so far the only guys on the track are all in the lead lap. I guess that's a good thing. It means lap traffic is going to be a factor in a lot of these battles. But that was a look top to bottom at your ButtKicker midway race break. And reminder to all of our viewers, whether you happen to be on Facebook Live, YouTube, or on Twitch, you can get 20% off on all ButtKicker products at thebutkicker.com using our promo code ISCA20. Once again, that is ISCA20 at thebutkicker.com for 20% off on all ButtKicker products. Battle is on for 5th as Wojcinski is trying to look at the inside of his teammate. Done playing around and playing friends with Chris Johnson at the moment.
Yeah, it seems there's a lot of that going on. I mean, it has not cooled down whatsoever, the racing out here. Even though that, you know, during that break, you're still seeing battling. Noah Bitts getting really coming off narrow on that last corner. Might have got a little bit loose here as Thomas O'Hara trying to look on the inside.
And now Kozlowski just waiting in the wings, seeing if he can potentially capitalize on any one of these drivers making a mistake. Because O'Hara's going to go side by side with Bitts. But that 87 car winding it up out of turn number 2. We've seen this time and time again. And he's going to push around the outside line with O'Hara down low. So far, though, O'Hara seems to be making that inside line work. He's able to pull alongside, never able to complete the pass. But here comes Kozlowski looking to throw his hat into the ring.
Yeah, this is definitely interesting. We haven't seen that bottom line work too well. I mean, these guys are just not able to get that run off. I mean, especially when the tires are wearing. You see a lot of these guys trending up to the high side, but look at that. Thomas O'Hara getting a good run. Almost was able to get something done there. Now Kozlowski just trying to figure out where to go here. It looks like Thomas O'Hara going to make that pass happen. Can Noah Bitts rebound here? Al Kozlowski now going to try to challenge him. And that is for 8th place right now. So Thomas O'Hara has moved up to 7th. Clayton Hoffman, of course, out to a 1.4 second lead. Kenny Powell, of course, in 2nd. Chris Pfeffer about 3 seconds back from the leader. A little bit of a battle going on here between Pfeffer and Josh Schaffner. Is that 84 in the 50 battle? And right behind them, we also see Greg Wojcinski trying to fight with Chris Johnson. But still battles going on throughout the field. Now Kozlowski still battling back here with Noah Bitts for that 8th spot. Kloski's been showing a lot of speed here tonight, that's for sure. And right behind them, I think we'll see George Oaks and Justin Levine battling. Oaks, some contact with the wall there from George Oaks. That was almost disastrous there as Levine trying to scramble in around him. Luckily that didn't turn out too bad there. Levine still trying to recover. Luckily he did not get any damage in that situation. It could have been a very hairy situation there. For sure, and he's definitely trying to recover, drive his way, but he has got a long way to go considering he is about 8 seconds now back from the leader. That's just one thing about this type of racetrack. It's very easy to get slowed down by someone else. Always love that clean air. Clayton Hoffman definitely loving it right now. He's got about 2 seconds on second place right now. Of course, Kenny Powell, like I said before, he's got about a second on Chris Pfeffer. Pfeffer's starting to maybe reel him in as Schaffner, even though Schaffner's trying to challenge him, is almost pushing him along. When we say draft doesn't work well here, I think these cars are moving fast enough. I think draft does make some type of difference. I mean, could very well be the case. But if Schaffner tries to challenge Pfeffer, it's definitely going to slow him down as they're side by side for third place right now. Schaffner getting real tight up to Pfeffer. Touches a little bit of the apron. He still stays side by side. Now Pfeffer almost clear, not clear. And Schaffner still challenging. This is going to help Chris Johnson catch up to these guys. They still keep racing side by side like this. Still unknown, like, you know, tire wear wise, if the bottom hurts your tires more, if the top does. I mean, that's something I really don't know. But Schaffner trying to make something happen. He almost gets clear, but he's just not able to do it. That top side, it just carries so much momentum around this racetrack. Still battling for third. I mean, this is a never-ending battle. As now Pfeffer does get clear, and he's going to come down in front. And you can see all of that really allowed Kenny Powell to start separating from them. But Greg Wachinski into the outside wall a little bit there as he's trying to chase down. Looks like he is going to try to battle here with Chris Johnson, even though he touched the wall. Didn't really slow him down very much. And that is the battle for 5th place. And it looks like Wachinski going to take it. Schaffner and Pfeffer still battling for 3rd place right now. This is crazy. These guys do not give up. Kozlowski and Bent's still fighting back there for 8th place also. So there are battles still literally going on everywhere on this racetrack. We now hit lap 120. That means we have 80 laps remaining. And the first victim, I do believe, of Clayton Hoffman is going to be going a lap down to 43. Paul Olson now 1 lap down. Greg Wachinski doing a great job now up in 5th. Going to try to chase down Josh Schaffner. Can he do it? Looking at lap time wise, Schaffner looks like he's a little bit quicker, but no one is as fast as Clayton Hoffman. I mean, 23.927 last time by. That is the fastest of the field. That clean air has got to be doing wonders for that race car, especially with this being a high horsepower, low downforce. I mean, look at the spoiler on these cars, virtually non-existent. Definitely some very exciting racing going on right now, though. Curious, you know, when these guys are going to decide to pit. I mean, that's still up in the air.
Final one driver that's opting to come on down early, and that's going to be Paul Olson, who is coming down to the lane actually as we speak. Sorry for the minor technical difficulties on my end. I do believe should be back by now, though.
Yes, sir. We got you loud and clear, Nolan. Well, I definitely love talking to myself there for a while.
Well, you know, these types of things, they tend to happen from time to time. And so Olson, the first driver into pit road. Nobody, though, has opted to go with them for the time being. Looks like Greg Bartlett might be coming on in. Though that being said, he had a big wreck out of 15th place that sent him slamming to the inside walls. He's going to opt to stay out, as a matter of a fact. So we continue to watch and see how these drivers are going to play out and play these pit strategies as battles pick up everywhere. Looking at Wayne Grossi and Philip Kruger, 17th and 18th. That's starting to pick on up. Grossi with no front end, trying to close on up, and this could get interesting here with just up the road. Jason Baker under fire from Mark Sanchez.
Yeah, definitely a lot of battling still going on for sure. A lot of side-by-side action. A lot of guys making different calls to you know, probably pit here soon. Curious, I mean, when would you say they're going to pit, Nolan?
Well, let's see. They've been out there for about 44 laps. You have 74 to go. You have to make it at least, you have to make it 69 laps on the fuel. I would say pit window's going to be opening in about 5 laps time. Olson's going to have to come down again. No way he stretches that all the way out to the end of this race. I would probably say starting at about 10 laps, maybe the next 10 to 20.
Definitely could be the case here. As we see Chris Johnson, I know he was just fighting with Greg Wachinski. I think he's able to hold off and be in 5th here. As Thomas O'Hare been running some very fast lap times. Looks like he might be able to make something happen here if he can catch up to these guys.
Still got eyes on the battle for 16th between Jason Baker and Philip Kruger in the 81 and the 51 side by side. Then to turn 3 with Jason Baker using all of the possible room that he can on the racetrack, especially right up by that wall at corner entry. And that is keeping him neck and neck with Kruger into turn number 1, though I think Kruger in that Vegemite Chevrolet might just win out as Baker, it's a bit too friendly with the wall that time by, and Philip Kruger and his Mad Aussie Motorsports machine is through.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised at Baker's speed considering he's missing his front end. I mean, he's kind of still running some pretty good laps. I mean, compared to our leaders. I mean, about a half a second slower, of course, but you'd expect more from a car that is missing its front bumper.
So all of that considered, I think the fact that you still got, you know, Grossi and Baker running as competitively as they are, as Baker slaps the wall again. You know, not necessarily the worst thing in the world. You know, they're both at least 10 spots from the last spot on the grid, which is obviously, you know, good news for the two of them as we cross over that 70 to go mark. There's Paul Olson just now out of pit road. And now with 68 laps to go. I wonder what the stretch goal is for him, because he's now 8 laps down as a result of that extra long pit stop.
Yeah, definitely not a good one for sure. Not going to play out very well as we see a change for second place. Just a few laps to go. Josh Schaffner able to get around Kenny Powell. I think Kenny Powell must have had a moment or something like that, because definitely curious for sure as Pfeffer's starting to catch up to him now.
Powell's still going to look top side, trying to get around Josh Schaffner. That is not going to happen, though, for the time being. So you got all in these little battles here that are starting to pick on up, but also quite a few that are starting to die off as well. I think at this point, everybody's willing to just be content and more just kind of ride things out as that goes along. So with this little bit of a lull in all of the, you know, hyper action that we've been seeing so far during the course of this race, why don't we talk to one of the drivers who has so far not had, shall we say, the best of days. We'll see if we can't dial up one Jeffrey Souza to join us up here in the broadcast booth. Jeffrey, it hasn't gone quite your way. You got collected in our first major incident of the day. Why don't you walk us through what you saw out of that number 14?
Yeah, I was, thank you for the interview, guys. I was in there probably about 15 car lengths back. Don got up there in the fence a little, I saw someone try to split the middle. They came down the track. I saw a hole, went for that hole, and then got slammed in the right rear from somebody, and it just knocked out the toe, and we were done at that point.
Overall, I would say this package has been a great success so far. What the low downforce, high horsepower package. It's the first time the ICA has ever run this package in any official capacity. What's been your take on it so far through the brief stint you had earlier in this race?
Yeah, I thought the package has been great. You know, as a team, Triad has been amazing this week. We've accumulated almost 20 official wins this week. One of my drivers, Joseph, has about, I don't know, 10 wins, I think, this week. We have had a bullet of a car. Just, I think almost everyone except for Thomas, who's still out there now, has basically been taken out or destroyed due to some means, not by ourselves. So it sucks that we weren't able to show the speed we have this week, but you know, the people that know we have that speed. So that's the main thing we're worried about.
And looking forward into the season as a whole, as we get set to get further and further into this first season of 2022, it hasn't necessarily been the best of starts for you as a whole so far. Do you have any overall goals, though, where you might want to find that number 14 by season's end?
Yeah, I'm hoping. You know, I think points-wise, we're kind of in a bad position. I think it's pretty much done for points. But, you know, we're going to some tracks that I really like the rest of the season. Texas next week. I've been really successful there in the past, especially with this car, this package. Gateway I've been okay at. I think I finished top 6 there last time we went there. But Texas, Kentucky, we're going then to Daytona later on in the season too. So I'm hoping we can pick up a few wins. And if it's not me picking them up personally, it's just the Triad group as a whole. We've been doing some great teamwork, especially this week. You know, our members have been helping each other figure out this track and figure out how we need to drive this car to be fast, and we've definitely been there. So I'm just hoping as a team we can move forward. Really, I think none of us have had runs as we should have so far between Talladega and Atlanta and then tonight. So I think the whole team as a whole, we're just wanting to have clean races and not go home with destroyed race cars for the rest of the season.
And before I let you go then here, Jeffrey, anybody you'd like to shout out for that Sousa Media number 14?
Yeah, it's just my brother Sousa Media. You know, they do a lot to help us reach out with the whole team, Triad, and, you know, like I said, Joseph and Andrew Skelnick have done a great job this week driving and working on the setup and just helping everyone on the team figure out how to drive. So I'll let you guys get back to the action that's going on the track, and hopefully I'll be talking to you from Victory Lane next week.
Here's to hope of Jeffrey. Thanks for joining us, and we'll hopefully talk to you soon. While all that was going on, you were watching a thrilling battle for 11th, 12th, 13th that just ended in complete calamity. Watch Sanchez here, just drifting up a bit too wide. Taking out, I believe, wasn't that Heath Schneider there, Brian, if I'm not mistaken, working his way out through the field?
I'll tell you what, though, you're looking at it from the perspective of Clayton Hoffman. He went on the apron to avoid that and lost a half a second.
Lost half a second, though he still has about 3 seconds total that he can work with as a result. And wow, you're right. No kidding. Going all the way down, 4 wheels onto the apron to get around that. We'll take a look at this one here on board with Hoffman. Just too wide. There's the contact and sending them around. And in live pictures, Justin Levine coming down pit road this time by. I appear to have been right about on the money there then, Brian. About 10 to 20 laps is what I predicted, as Pfeffer is now into pit road. Reflex stops well in the way for everybody in the grid so far.
This is going to be a very important stop for sure. I mean, Levine has been clawing his way through the field. I mean, he had moved his way up to 7th, was fighting hard for 6th. So, I mean, this could be big for him. I mean, he's going to be gaining, I think, a lot of time based on doing this. So at 33, look out.
And race leader Hoffman is in this time by, as he'll come down pit road for his final potential round of service. That will boost Chris Johnson now to the race lead, as he'll get set to lead a lap, as more and more drivers opting to come down. Also in with him, Al Kozlowski is in. Kenny Powell is in at the moment. And further on back, you've got the likes of Philip Kruger, as well as Paget is into the lane at the moment. Then North Sanchez is in, O'Hara, Johnson, and more. Pat Gale's in this time by, so a good portion of the field opted to come on in and take that pit service now that we're under 69 laps to go.
It looks like Corey Cook risking it a little bit here. He's going to be in the lead, and we've seen him on older tires. He's been able to hold off some guys, but we'll have to wait and see here. Is a caution could come out and change things for a driver if they're willing to risk it.
And Corey Cook in the race lead now. He'll get that bonus point for leading a lap. Now opting to just stay out in front a little bit to, I'd imagine, prevent guys like Jason Baker and Wayne Grossi from being able to lead laps in a turn. Now Hoffman, I think, will be pretty safe out in front for the race lead when he exits pit road. At the moment, the next closest car to him on track, now 5 seconds back. So there's nothing that is able to compete with Josh Schaffner at the moment, as your race leader Corey Cook is in pit road, leaving just Baker and Grossi out in front that have yet to pit.
Well, I mean, you got to look at Hoffman's lap times right now. As Corey Cook, look, he's going to be going down pit road here. I mean, lap time versus Corey Cook, even if they didn't have to pit, I mean, he still would have caught them. But Jason Baker going to inherit the lead, so he is going to probably get a bonus point for leading the lap here.
It looks like he very well might. Jason Baker looking to get the point for leading a lap in this race. He'll pick that up right about now, I'd imagine. Now Wayne Grossi, just the last driver to pit, right behind your race leader at the moment in the number 51. And interestingly enough, these are both the two drivers here, Brian, that have no front ends either, running the discount modified version of the next gen cars.
100%. I mean, this is like the Daytona 24 hours. They're running GT3s.
Well, GT3s are a bit more aerodynamically stable, shall we say?
Well, I don't know, though. Clayton Hoffman, right up on them. He is going to take this lead back.
I think that kind of makes the statement as to how good fresh tires are over old tires on a long run. I mean, just blitz by both of them. If Baker didn't even try to fight it.
How do you fight that? I mean, you can't. I mean, he just comes right on by you, and he's been showing significant speed all race. A lot of these drivers have been showing a lot of speed. I mean, I'm very impressed with these guys. Josh Schaffner, Kenny Powell, Chris Pfeffer's been doing an excellent job. I mean, this has been a battle here. I'm curious, though, what Levine's going to be able to do here. He short-pitted those guys, but he didn't really gain much in position-wise.
He didn't gain much position-wise for the time being, so Levine could be looking to potentially fall back here at the moment, and he's still about 3.5 seconds off of Kenny Powell, who is the next closest driver at the moment. Just trying to find him here so I can compare some of the lap times. Levine, this last lap, ran a 23.309, and Kenny Powell, the next driver up, a 23.310, so 1,000 seconds separating them. He's not gaining anything, but at least he's not losing anything either, as when Grossi is coming down to pit road this time. In fact, both second and third were coming down to pit road this time by, which were the last two drivers that we had to wait to come down and pit.
Definitely a valiant attempt for those guys. If I didn't have a front bumper, I don't know if I'd risk it. But, I mean, those guys, they have some, they got gumption. I'll tell you that, no.
So now entering the final quarter of this race, and your race leader exactly 5 seconds clear of the field for the time being. Why don't we take a quick step away, and we'll be back with the final 40 or so laps of this race in just a couple of moments.
ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at thebuttkicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
Still 41 laps to go from the Cheerwine 200 from Rockingham Speedway. Gap to Clayton Hoffman starting to close a little bit. Josh Schofter pulling up to about 4.75. That being said, immediately pulls right back out down the straightaway. That is the difference in lines taken into these corners. You see Bartlett inside line. He's that orange car with the white stripes, just letting lead lap traffic through with no further struggles there for the number 77 car. Just looking to ride around in 21st place at the moment, especially given the fact that he's 34 laps down.
Yeah, I mean, he still has a chance to gain some position here. You never know what could happen here at Rockingham. Such an unpredictable racetrack. You know, 1 second you got control of your car, the next second you don't. And I think that's what he's out there for. He just, you know, if something happens, he's there to gain positions if someone car does not make it. I mean, look at the cars that are around him. If they have one contact with a wall, I think their race would be done, considering they don't have any protection.
And now running lap 162 out of 200 at the moment, about to be 163. Let's look back to some of these battles further down in the order. This is one that is outside the top 10. Current battle for 14th place. Heath Schneider getting past Philip Kruger. And they're both being lapped at the moment by Thomas O'Hara, who's all the way up in 8th place. I think that is something worth mentioning here, is the fact that Hoffman is so far lapped all the way up to 11th place with his pit call at the moment. That has gotten him a 5-second lead now. So there's nothing to contend with that premium racing setup shop, number 92 of Hoffman for the time being.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely no one able to contend with him right now. Pfeffer doing a pretty good job, though. His lap times are looking very strong. He is faster than the leader, but is it a little too late? I mean, definitely still have a lot of racing left to go. He could make that distance up, but it's going to be difficult.
You look up to Chris Pfeffer trying to keep Kenny Powell, his own G&G teammate, at bay in the battle for third place, simultaneously trying to close up to one Josh Schofter, but he's got Corey Cook between himself and Schofter that he's got to work his way through, and Corey Cook hasn't, shall we say, been eager to let Pfeffer out of the way, or to get out of Pfeffer's way here and just let him through.
Yeah, it does seem like. I mean, and Corey Cook has enough speed to be annoying. You know, when you're fast enough, you know, you can even if a guy's faster than you, it can make it very difficult for him to get around you. And so Corey Cook doesn't have enough damage to really limit him that much, but he still is a little bit slower in holding this guy up. Probably not going to be some happiness there for Pfeffer. I mean, we've seen the aggression here already been turned up here in this race from a lot of guys. This is a short track race. This is that mentality starts to play a role.
I suppose that does make it a little bit interesting as well here, you know, for Chris Pfeffer and Corey Cook, that dynamic on the track at the moment between the two of them, right? Because Cook has got just enough speed that he can justify staying up and running with these guys and not letting Pfeffer through, but he's also just slow enough that it's holding Pfeffer back from Josh Schofter.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly what's happening. But now Pfeffer getting a good run up to him. We're getting to that point in the race where bumpers could be used.
Seen a couple of bumpers used a few times in different races over the last couple of weeks, and each time it's gone about the same way, and shall we say burned about as many bridges as you could expect at any one given point.
Yeah, this is really hurting Pfeffer, though. I mean, you're seeing now Clayton Hoffman now pulling away on Josh Schaffner also. He's up to 5.6 seconds on him. I mean, he is just pulling away.
And that gap could still very much grow before the end of this race as we now hit lap 171, 30 laps to go from the Cheerwine 200. And so far, 7 lead changes overall over the course of the night. I believe that's actually got to be about the most amount of lead changes we've had all season so far in any one given race. 5 caution laps, only 16. There's that 18 laps that have been run under this yellow flag, which, you know, overall, that isn't too bad. I mean, 200 lap race, 18 laps under yellow. That's just under a 10. I'll take that. That's a good number.
I mean, I would too. I mean, this is Rockingham. You usually expect a good many cautions, but I just think that just shows the level of talent that's in ISCA and the respect.
You just saw Pfeffer get sideways trying
Levine loses it.
Oh, has he?
He lost it back in 5th place. Able to catch it, though, but you can see the tire smoke. That's going to hurt him.
Kept with it, kept it out of the wall, but you're right. Had a big moment out of turn 2. Had to crank the wheel hard right to keep that thing from shooting into the inside wall. That's that apron. It's that transition that we talked about already a couple of times before in this race. You cannot abuse that transitioning too much. You have to always be absolutely on top of it. And Levine's caught that apron a couple of times, and sooner or later, it's going to get the better of it.
Yeah, 100%. And, I kind of saw some hints of him just losing it on his own. I feel like, these guys are pushing it real hard, and I think the tire temps are getting up there. They still got a long run to go. I know Chris Johnson's going to try to be patient to try to wait to get around Levine. We'll have to wait to see. This is definitely it's heating up for 5th back here.
Chris Johnson trying to push his way into a top 5 position for the time being, looking to follow Levine's line and take that way up high through 1 and 2, and then diamond it off low right at the corner exit as Levine now continues to try to work his way around, and Chris Johnson doing a solid job on being able to keep with him so far. He's just got to apply that pressure and hope that Levine makes that mistake one more time, because I think Levine knows, though, that if he makes that mistake again, Johnson is for sure going to pass him up here, and I think he's driving a little bit more carefully as a result of that, because he doesn't want to lose that top 5. He needs it if he wants to keep himself in championship contention.
Yeah, it's going to be definitely difficult, though. Look at that. He's getting so loose. You could see it. Levine definitely having to really work that wheel, pedal that race car.
This time, Johnson looking low, not close enough, though. Levine manages to cover him off, under 25 laps to go, and Chris Johnson continues to try to go on the hunt to close up to Justin Levine. I have to think, though, how aggressive is Johnson going to be trying to go for this position when it really comes down to it?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's definitely important to get some points here. I think that he's going to be aggressive, especially as we get closer and closer. I mean, we're almost 20 to go. This is where, if the intensity's been high all race, this is where it gets the highest, where these guys are going to be trying everything they can to get where they need to go, whether that being, using that front bumper or not. We'll have to wait and see. But Levine getting so loose.
I told you, just needed the pressure into one more mistake. And that mistake was a small one, but a very costly one at that.
Yeah, and you also see this tire smoke, off something like that. That adds up. I mean, it's hard to get that. Ooh, Kenny Powell into the outside wall up in 4th place.
Just having a little scrape potentially for Kenny Powell. Not good news, though, for the number 24 crew, who is still trying to hold on to that 4th position.
I'll tell you what, it's very easy to knock that front toe out of alignment at this racetrack. I've seen it plenty of times in the officials. Could very well hurt his handling and his tire wear.
And with Pfeffer about 6/10 or so up the road, and Grassi now trying to unlap himself, I wonder if that might have just killed Powell's run to potentially go for a podium position here.
Yeah, if it's significant enough, I mean, could Chris Johnson and Levine catch up to him? Have to wait and see for sure. He's definitely having some problems. That wall's dangerous here at Rockingham.
Further in the back, battle for 7th and 8th. Thomas O'Hara, Greg Wyszynski looking to trade hands as O'Hara pushes his way up into 7th place of the 117 machine. Now, O'Hara's been one of the biggest movers so far today. Started 22nd place. He is all the way up to 7th place now. He's one of the few drivers that opted not to set a qualifying time. And interestingly enough, here's just a fun little fun fact for you, Ryan. He's the only driver that did not set a lap in qualifying, that is not just in the top 10, but that is also not a lap down.
Definitely impressive race here for Thomas O'Hare. Doing a great job, able to get clear of Greg Wachinski. They got awful close there. They were racing each other very hard. You can see the intensity starting to rise as we get 15 to go.
And you have to wonder, right? I mean, if Thomas O'Hara had set a qualifying lap, do you think it could be even further up the grid as opposed to 7th, or do you think he'd still be right around to this area?
I'll tell you what, there's some exciting stuff going on for 3rd right now. Chris Pfeffer being held up a little bit by Noah Bitts. Kenny Powell starting to catch up and come into play.
This could be big. Powell's getting Powell's up and into the wall after being held up by Noah Bitts once, now twice, as Bitts comes down to cover the run. And Powell, though, going to send one to the inside. Pushing up, though, as Bitts is trying to fight this one out with Powell. Not a wise idea at all when you're a lap down. And it's 4th place you're fighting, but he's in a battle for a podium.
Yeah, definitely. I think Bitts has got that short track mentality. He's got that, that red vision, blood vision. He's got blood in the water here. He's trying to. I don't think he's thinking clearly, Nolan.
I think this time by, though, he might be letting Powell through here on the bottom side, and Powell has to try to run the outside lane to get around him, and Bitts backs out from the inside, lets Powell through. Oh, maybe not quite, though. I think Powell backed off Bitts. Bitts is trying to, I think, give him the spot. Powell's not making it very easy for him, though.
Well, yeah, Powell's definitely struggling anyway, considering, he's already hit the wall a couple times that we've seen. But he is able to get by Bitts.
And it'll be 11 laps to go this time by at the line for race leader Clayton Hoffman, who has continued to extend the gap. Now 8 seconds to the lead. It has been nothing short of domination for the 92 car throughout this race.
Yeah, no one has been able to even been on his level. I mean, I think that's why we haven't really talked about him very much. I mean, he has just been in his own world.
He really has as we cross that 10 to go mark. I mean, he was within about a second or so of your race leaders at the end of stage 2. He was within 7 tenths at the end of stage 1, but of course he had that last lap charge from Levine trying to take the lead. But now it's 8 seconds and it is still only growing.
Yeah, especially with not much time left to go. I mean, he could make some mistakes right now and probably still win this race.
Absolutely, he has the potential to do that, and he has the space to be able to reliably be able to make those mistakes and still be able to come out on top of this thing, which always feels good as a driver.
100%, but I mean, there's still a lot of lap traffic out there that could cause some issues. You never know. I mean, it's so hard. I mean, with the difference in speed, if you come up on a car that's really hurting, really struggling, you could, not judge correctly where to go.
I believe this is the battle for 11th. Check that 10th at the moment as Mark Paget working his way up as Cook goes to 11th, and Paget trying to hold him with it around the outside line. Oh, Paget's in the wall. Keeps it out of other drivers as Greg Bartlett scrambles. Got a bit dicey, though, for a moment amongst those two drivers, as I think that will end Paget's run to try to get into the top 10.
Crazy to see that Clayton Hoffman has put everybody up to 9th, a lap down now. Oh, Kenny Powell again hitting the wall once again. Now Noah Bitts on his high side.
And gonna get through. Once again, Bitts not willing to really give Powell much of a break here.
Well, I mean, when someone hits the wall, it's kind of hard. You just want to get around them so you're a little bit safer. But Kenny Powell, getting loose again.
I think it's over for Powell at this point. I think if I'm him at the moment, just play it safe and just let the race kind of go at this point. I mean, you're not going to catch up to Pfeffer at this point in time. You got 5 laps to go and 3 seconds to get up. It's not happening.
Yeah, I mean, and Johnson's pretty far back, So, I mean, you're not really going to risk losing your position. I'd just take it easy.
About 1 minute left, give or take, in this race. Clayton Hoffman will be coming to 3 to go this time by as we get set to close this race out slowly but surely. And what a race it has been, right? I mean, this has just been non-stop action from start to finish. By far has to be the best race we've seen so far on the season.
I mean, I think that no question about it. This is definitely the best race we've seen all season long. Just gives you great hope about, you know, what this car is going to look like in the real world.
And now 2 laps remaining for Clayton Hoffman. And I have to ask, do you reckon at this point with this huge performance, Hoffman is still in the title fight? Because I'm willing to say absolutely yes.
I would say so. We still do have a battle going on, though, for 6th place. I keep seeing Thomas O'Hare going side by side with Justin Levine. These guys, they have taken the gloves off.
Gloves are out, and reasoned enough. 1 lap remaining at the time being, and this is just in front of race leader Clayton Hoffman, who you just saw just barely graze the edges of your screen right there in the back. 2 cars back. That is your race leader, who coming around through 3 and 4. Clayton Hoffman will come home. He will win the Cheerwine 200 out of turn number 4. The battle, though, you mentioned before, still raging on for 6th as Hoffman takes the victory. And side by side for 6th place, Levine's able to go with them and wrecking on the back straightaway. Heath Schneider's been turned around, has to watch out as cars start to scramble through. Schneider having big problems for himself, just got loose and tagged the wall by himself. And Levine holds on in the battle for 6th.
Wow, what a finish there. Great races from a lot of guys out there. I mean, what a performance. I think everybody out there deserves a round of applause for that performance. I mean, these guys all put on a heck of a race.
And with all of this said and done, let's take a look at your ButtKicker official post-race results as Hoffman burns it down on the front straightaway. He takes the race win by 8 seconds over Josh Schaffner. Chris Fever is another 8 back in third. We'll talk to all of them in just a few moments. Kenny Powell is 4th place with Chris Johnson 5th. Justin Levine is 6th. Thomas O'Hara 7th. Wachinski's 8th. Last driver on the lead lap. Val Kozlowski in 9th. And Noah Bitts down in 10th.
Corey Cook going to be finishing in 11th. 12th, Mark Paget. 13th, George Oakes. 14th, Philip Kruger. 15th, Wayne Grossi. 16th, Mark Sanchez. 17th, Heath Snyder. 18th, Robert Pattengale. 19th, Jason D. Baker. 20th, Paul Olson. Sorry, getting distracted by that awesome burnout there from Clayton Hoffman. Back to you, Nolan.
And that'll be 21st for Greg Bartlett. 22nd, Dan Shamoon. And 23rd, you got Dave Long. And we're well into cars that have not finished the race at this point. For there, it's John Mullins, Jeffrey Souza, J.D. Baker, Don Avery, and Andrew Griesbaum rounding out your 28-car field here from the Rockingham Speedway. Let's go down track side, and we'll see if we can get a chat here with one Clayton Hoffman race winner at the end of the night. And what a ride for you tonight, Clayton. I mean, just nonstop action, start to finish, sees you taking the race win for yourself and in dominant fashion, too.
Yeah, I mean, car was just hooked up. Had a great, just long run pace. I could push as hard as I wanted.
So I have to ask, now that we've been at 2 very different types of tracks, what with, more draft heavy mile and a halves with the lower horsepower package, and of course these shorter ovals now with the higher horsepower package, what type of racing do you prefer more?
The high horsepower. When you go to a track and you don't have to use the brake to enter the corner, it just kind of takes a level or a degree of difficulty out of the track right there. So I always prefer the tracks where you have to use some brake and you got a good amount of deceleration into the corners.
Well, I haven't raced these cars at Texas quite yet, but with how turn 1 is profiled, I'd imagine you have to use at least a little bit of brake entering turn 1 deeper in the tire runs. What's your plans going into Fort Worth?
I've done some testing with the team. I will say that Texas does not drive how I expected. These new cars, just for whatever reason right now, with the current tire they got on it, and I believe we're still running the low horsepower So unless that changes, the way they are currently at with the low horsepower, they're totally different. It kind of blew my mind.
Well, hopefully, they'll be able to come through and still put together a good performance then at the Texas Motor Speedway in just 1 week's time. Before I let you go, anybody you'd like to shout out for your number 92?
Yeah, shout out to ButtKicker for sponsoring the league. Shout out to Cheerwine for sponsoring the race. Thanks to Premier Setups, all the guys on there. We got a bunch of us in the league on the team. Me and Schofter ended up top 3, which is awesome. Kenny was just outside of there. Just shout out to all those guys. We had a great setup. If you need any setup help or you just need a good setup, premiersracingsetups.com.
And thank you, Clayton, for taking the time to join us here tonight. Congratulations on your dominant race win. Best of luck next week in Texas.
Thank you, Nolan.
And that will bring us down to second place finisher, 8 seconds back. Josh Schaffner going 5th to 2nd. And Brian, you're standing by with our P2 finisher.
For sure, Mr. Josh Schaffner did an excellent job out there. I mean, at some points you were even starting to, catch Clayton Hoffman. What was some of the difficulties with this racetrack here tonight?
Yeah, it was a really fun race, and kind of the stages there early on. I just kind of wanted to. Didn't want to race too hard. Just kind of wanted to survive and maintain track position, and then after that last caution, that we had a pretty long run there and did green flag pit stops, and I probably just gave up a little bit too much time before the green flag pit stop there, and I had to work through a little bit of traffic, and really had a really fun race with Chris Pfeffer there. We had I don't know, must have been maybe a 6-8 lap battle, and that was a lot of fun. But I probably let Clayton get out there just a little too far early, but I made up a little bit of time. He had a little trouble with lap traffic there before the pit stop, and I might have a little better entry, but he was just a little better than I was tonight. And I think once he got out there 7-8 seconds, I could maintain it. But he was just a little bit quicker kind of through the middle part of the run.
Definitely very interesting seeing, the different lines out there. How was it making that top line work or the bottom line? What was the difference there with braking and gas?
Yeah, there's kind of two strategies. If you kind of watch the race there, that I think it's kind of a 50-50 split where people run. I was kind of pretty committed to kind of, obviously the bottom through 3 and 4 the whole race, and kind of a enter bottom, drift up, exit bottom, kind of off through 1 and 2 there, and I was pretty consistent with that. I just kind of stuck to it, and it's a really line sensitive track. Whatever your line is, you just really got to be consistent to hit it, and kind of miss your line here, you can definitely give up 2-3 tenths pretty easy a lap, but just a really line sensitive track, but a really fun track, kind of a driver's track, and I really enjoy these type of speedways.
Well, we're definitely going to another line sensitive racetrack at Texas Motor Speedway. How are you feeling about that coming up?
Yeah, I kind of similar to what Clayton thinks. I've ran there a little bit already, and it's going to be interesting. I'd probably rather have the lower downforce, more power there, just my personal preference. But that's going to be really interesting. I think there's going to be a lot of draft there, and maybe I think it's going to be hard to find some separation potentially. But until we get in some race runs there, I'll do a little more testing here this weekend and probably have a better feel for it.
Well, we definitely appreciate that input there for sure. Who can we shout out tonight after that second place finish?
Oh yeah, definitely want to. We had a good run here, and got to thank the teammates at Premier, and Clayton had a good run there, and Kenny right there too. But got to thank everyone at Premier Racing Setups, and ditto to Kenny to go head to the website there if you're looking for some setup help, and don't be shy to reach out to any of us for some help along the way. And I want to thank obviously ISCA, Kenny, Brian, you and Nolan in the booth, and ButtKicker and everyone that supports and makes this league go. It's such a fun league to participate in. And then for me, got to thank Smith Farms, and I'm sure they're still watching, and all my partners there in my agriculture world, and kind of thank my wife and daughters there for letting me come down on Thursday nights in the cave here to do this as well.
Well, we definitely appreciate your time also, man. Good luck at Texas next week. Back to you, Nolan.
Appreciate it, Brian.
And that will bring us down to the third and final driver of the night. Chris Pfeffer joins us up here in the broadcast booth. Now, Chris, you didn't manage to go pole to victory, but you do manage to still go pole to podium. So third place, still not a bad result at all, considering when you had guys like Hoffman who just seemed to be able to run away with it tonight.
Yeah, I was honestly pretty shocked when I got pole, but it was pretty. I knew pretty early that I didn't have the speed to race with Clayton, so I tried racing him for a little bit, and then I just let him go. There wasn't any point of doing it. And then I tried to just run my own race, tried to just stay patient. I got damaged somewhere in the second stage when Levine tried clearing himself. I got in the fence in the front straight, and that kind of killed the straight line a bit. And I was just kind of just sitting around trying to save tire after that. There was nothing I can really do. I couldn't really attack anybody. So I just tried to hold on, and then I managed to undercut Kenny in the pit stops and was able to stay in front of him until the end.
And of course, with this third place finish and with Noah Bitts not having the best of days, finishing down in 10th place, you're set to easily retake the points lead in this one. I think it's safe to say that Noah Bitts at the moment is your biggest competition when it comes to trying to go for potential titles here in this one. Do you think you'll be able to continue to extend that lead going forward?
I mean, we'll see. You never know with some of these tracks coming up. Like, I'm sure next week Texas is going to be a lot like Talladega and Atlanta. It's going to be a draft fest, pack racing. Probably could be some big ones. And depends if you get involved with them or not. See how it goes.
Speaking of Texas Motor Speedway, of course, that is next week's race coming on up. Do you have any special plans for the 1.5-mile track in Fort Worth?
Avoid the big wrecks.
That sounds like a very solid strategy. It's simple. I like it. You got to have simple strategies sometimes, and keeping your nose clean. That ends up being half the battle with draft packages like this one. Before I let you go here, Chris, and about you, let's shout out for your GNG 84.
Yeah, I just want to shout out Legacy, obviously, Reaper Speed Lab, Blackstone Management, AC Avalanche, Champion, Curb Records. Obviously, you guys for the broadcast, ISCA, Kenny. Just thank you guys for putting on the broadcast. It's awesome to go back and watch it. And the series is pretty good. So thank you.
And thank you, Chris, for taking the time to join us here tonight. Congratulations on a third place finish. Best of luck next week in Texas.
Thanks.
And well, that is going to be a wrap then for us here at the iRacing Stock Car Association ButtKicker Cup Series. I'm Adola Rempel with Brian Britt beside me in the broadcast booth with Rob Meldick once again down behind the cameras for tonight's race. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for taking the time to join us for more ISCA racing action. We'll see you all on Saturday for the Tucson Sound Art Cup Series.